we got more Loki craziness, his shocking bounty reveal, his history with Shanks, Luffy finally attacking him, and more in this insane chapter of One Piece. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And I gotta mention, we even find out about Saul and the Robin reunion, and there's a crazy twist in the end. Definitely not one you want to miss. Share the perking with it and smash that like button if you enjoy these One Piece reviews and want to keep them coming. Make this the video you join the Nakama by subscribing and hitting that notification bell to turn on all notifications so you don't miss future One Piece reviews and updates. Now it's time to get pumped for the most exciting IP mobile game of 2024. The first ever officially licensed Jujutsu Kaisen mobile game is finally here. Download now to claim exclusive rewards. The rewards include 7,500 cubes, which can be used in-game for gacha and purchasing AP, and a SSR guaranteed gacha ticket where you can actually pick from 9 fan favorite characters like Yuji Tadori and of course the legend himself, Satoru Gojo. They also got official website events like Phantom Parade Early Gacha, where you can get up to 1 SSR character, 1 SSR recollection bit, and another 1,000 cubes. Then there's a cool collective event called Global Black Flash Challenge, where if players collectively achieve 100 million Black Flashes globally, you'll receive an additional 500 cubes. Want even more cubes? Use the friend invitation feature to join the battle and earn up to 6,000 cubes. The game has some great standout features like my favorite cooperative ultimate attacks, where special animations and dialogue are unlocked when chain attacks involve characters with unique bonds, like Yuji and my bro, Todo. Always love such attention to detail, and of course you got strategic elements like weaknesses, counters, healing, and something I love, the auto combat and speed up functions, so you can enjoy the game and make progress effortlessly during your leisure time. Also, the game has a high level of authenticity, allowing players to experience a JJK storyline within the game. You got multi-language support so that everyone can participate in exciting official launch celebrations events with exclusive prizes. For instance, we got the Blessing Collection event from November 7th to 14th, where players can participate by following the official media pages and leaving a message of support in the event post's comment section. A random 50 lucky participants will win a $20 gift card. Additionally, the official team has also announced plans for offline events in Los Angeles, Seoul, and Taipei. Players who haven't registered can watch the live stream online, so what are you waiting for? Download the game with the link in the description now and claim all those juicy rewards. And now, without further ado, let's jump into the meat and potatoes, spoilers and all. So this chapter is called Loki of the Underworld, so you know it's gonna be hype just from that title. It starts where the last one ended, with Luffy and Loki talking. Luffy is very happy to know that he's finally truly an Elbaph. He's so excited that he keeps talking about how massive the Island of Giants is and how exciting the Giants are and so on and so forth. Loki actually gets angry because Luffy doesn't even give him a chance to break into the conversation since our protagonist is just so excited. Good to see Luffy is as pumped up as we are for this long-awaited arc. Loki finally has enough and says, "Silence, I'm talking to you." He lets out a powerful scream that even scares the giant wolves in the area. We see Loki's introduction box as he's talking with Luffy on top of Loki's right leg. He's labeled as a cursed prince of Elbaph, Loki, special bounty issued by the world government, 2.6, wait for it, billion berries. That's huge news and begs many questions. First off, what's quote-unquote special about the bounty? Maybe it's special because he's such a threat even landlocked and without being a pirate, or maybe the fact that he's a prince is a factor too. We can only speculate now, but either way, it's no small bounty, far from it. In fact, we just got the 2 giant captain bounties, and they were significantly less at 1.8 billion apiece, even though they just quote-unquote attacked the world government at Egghead. So yes, it's not the largest bounty, but for a non-Yonko and non-pirate, there has to be a reason it's so large. And I guess it has something to do with his insane power and perhaps crazy erratic behavior. This dude did take out his own father after all. Loki says, "I am the sun god that has been passed down in this country. Do not speak without my permission, human." Now again, we have that fascinating tie-in to the sun god. First Luffy, then Road, and now Loki. Even the way he talks about passing down the sun god in this country sounds similar to how Luffy's sun god fruit can be passed down. Like it was in a way from Joy Boy to him. But obviously they can't have the same fruit at the same time. So I'm very curious about this whole passing down the sun god thing. Maybe the sun god happens to be their strongest god, like Zeus or something, and so the strongest of each generation claims to be the reincarnated sun god or something like that. Whatever it is, it's some intriguing stuff, and I honestly can't wait for it to be cleared up. It is cool that we'll probably be getting an epic sun god versus sun god showdown though. Definitely one more epic than the road one against Luffy. Anyways, Loki continues saying, "Now tell me, what do you think about the state I'm in?" Luffy replies in his characteristic and hilariously straightforward way, saying, "What do I think? You are obviously captured." Loki replies, very observant, "But no one wishes to be restrained, right? Like them all, if it's possible, I would like to be liberated as well, Rhodey." So one, Loki actually seems like the observant one. We know Luffy loves freedom more than almost anything, and here Loki seems to be appealing to that side of him, using it to try to get himself released. But him apparently miscalling him Rhodey is just hilarious. And of course, Luffy corrects him, saying, "I'm Luffy, not Rhodey." But you see in this chapter how good Loki is at getting under Luffy's skin. We'll see that when Shanks is brought up especially. And we'll get to that soon enough. But first, Loki explains that he has been like this for a whopping 6 years, which is a lot for us. Maybe not for giants, but for us it is. And then we get some huge news after huge news. He also says he's the most powerful person in Elbaph, but the tree he's tied to is Treasure Tree Adam. That is Warland Kingdom itself. Crazy. And as if that wasn't enough, the chains that imprison his body are made of sea stone, as I guessed last chapter, so he has no way of escaping on his own. We saw before how the sea and sea stone not only prevent devil fruit powers from being used, but weaken the user considerably as well. Now, of course, the question that immediately pops up is whether or not being the most powerful person in Elbaph means he's stronger than Shanks, who isn't always at Elbaph, but definitely should be there sometimes, as we'll see later. It's probably a stretch, and he's probably just the strongest giant that lives there, but you never know for sure at this point. For now, at least, he definitely doesn't seem to have an impressive crew like the Yonko, which may help the Yonko earn their especially high bounties, but I hesitate to underestimate Loki's one-on-one prowess. Loki wants to make a deal with Luffy, and you definitely gotta be careful if he's anything like the trickster god of Norse mythology that has the same name. The mythical Loki is very clever, which when combined with this Loki's strength could spell a lot of trouble. And knowing Luffy, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up freeing him. But more on that later. Loki concludes that Luffy is a pirate, and so he says that if he finds a key from the village above and frees Loki, Loki will crush one pirate crew for Luffy. First off, this makes Loki sound very powerful and confident indeed. Like, what if Luffy just told him to crush Shanks' crew? But beyond that, this is definitely not the way to entice Luffy. He probably had a better chance with the freedom stuff. Luffy definitely isn't one that would use another to beat a rival. He's a much more straightforward guy than that. If Loki was talking to Blackbeard, on the other hand, he may have piqued his interest by saying this, but again, the words trickster god are always replaying in my head, and who's to say he'd keep his words at all, even if Luffy did free him. Then we learn about this very interesting snowy land that is actually called the underworld. It's actually both a prison and execution ground for giants. Giants who committed crimes are forced down here, and no one dares come near because of the beasts in the forest. Given that these quote-unquote no ones that he's talking about are giants from Elbaph, that says a lot about how dangerous these beasts actually are. Probably good when you think about it that Usopp didn't tag along, because I'm sure he'd be freaking out right about now. Loki says, "I don't know your purpose of coming into this snowy mountain range, but you better beware of the beasts here. Each of them are the king of a mountain, and my pals since I was a kid," end quote. Very interesting twist. We then get an amazing double page where many massive beasts, similar to the ones on the island where Luffy trained before, come out of the forest and surround Luffy. We got 5 beasts including a polar bear, I love that one, gorilla, wolf, snake, and believe it or not, a mammoth. Not saying these would be a threat to Luffy, but it's cool that this guy also happens to have kings of mountains, as he calls them, obeying him. Like Gilgamesh, a king of kings, but that goes well with Loki calling himself a god anyways, because a god is above kings. Honestly, I kind of expected him to be a lone wolf, no pun intended, but looks like he does have some interesting underlings. Some people even come out and they seem to be Loki's subordinates. They wear gas masks that cover their faces and smelly animal skins to protect themselves from the beasts. Not surprisingly though, this event doesn't have the effect on Luffy that it would have had on most others, like Usopp for instance. And yes, I'm going to keep throwing Usopp under the bus until he actually does something this arc. Luffy is calm and he even says, "This feeling takes me back," probably to his already mentioned training. Loki has seemingly finished with his nice guy approach, and now he's threatening Luffy, saying, "If you dare disobey me, these guys won't just stand still." Now I get this for the story, and it will lead to funny situations for Loki to underestimate Luffy, but a part of me thinks if Luffy could sense Loki's power, vice versa should also be the case. In other words, Loki should be able to sense how powerful Luffy is. But hey, I guess we can always assume that some strong guys just don't happen to have a developed sense of observation haki. It's not the end of the world, but it's something that stood out to me in a moment like this. Luffy then goes on to subdue all the beasts in one panel, leaving Loki and his subordinates shocked. Luffy then jumps on the gorilla's hand, and all the beasts look at him in a friendly way and with a heart. So it quickly becomes clear that they underestimated our protagonist. Presumably, if the animals listen to Luffy over Loki, Luffy may have stronger Conqueror's haki, but we must also keep in mind the weakening sea stone chains on Loki to be fair. Then we get into the really juicy stuff. The subordinates say, "I hope this guy won't make us faint, like when red hair Shanks of the Yonko came here." I guess these guys didn't realize that they have another so-called quote-unquote of the Yonko here. But here we go, let's jump into the Shanks portion of the chapter now. I gotta say, I love how much of Shanks we've been getting lately. Luffy's interest is piqued, of course, and he says, "You said Shanks?" The subordinates say, "We did," but try to keep him focused, adding, "But something more important than that is happening right now." And now Loki has more information he can use to potentially trick Luffy. He says, "Wait just a moment, who is this shorty?" Imagine calling a Yonko and the future Pirate King shorty. Loki definitely knows how to provoke you. Loki uses his observations of the emotional way Luffy speaks about Shanks to tease him. When Luffy asks if Shanks was here, Loki responds, "So you know red hair?" "Yeah, he came here because we are talking about that chicken pirate, right?" I like how basic and yet insulting that was. Now, as you might have imagined, Luffy doesn't take someone talking poorly about Shanks well. He turns into Gear 4, so not super serious Gear 5, but serious enough to go for a punch. Loki narrowly dodges the punch, moving his head. Loki, his subordinates, and the beasts are shocked. While the panicked subordinates are screaming out, "Loki-sama," Loki senses some of Luffy's true power seemingly, and he says, "Whoa, you dimwit, wait. I was joking, just joking." Luffy tells him to not say that again. You gotta love Luffy giving orders to the accursed prince of Elbaph. So at first I was intrigued by this line, wondering what he could know about Shanks that we don't, but Oda didn't tease the chicken stuff for too long before revealing that it was just a joke. A way to tease Luffy. Clearly Loki doesn't actually feel that way, and Shanks clearly left a lasting impression on the subordinates, who clearly aren't that strong since Shanks just made them pass out with his haki. Perhaps even unintentionally. Loki then thinks to himself, if he gets out of this situation, he'll kill Luffy first. So a fight is definitely being set up here. Luffy asks what business does Shanks have here and if he's still at Elbaph. So yes, this might be the arc where we actually get Luffy and Shanks together and meeting each other again, not just passing by. And now that Loki knows he's got Luffy's interest, he says, I won't tell you that for free, you know. So now he finally has information that Luffy desperately wants and will potentially use it to get Luffy to free him. And when you combine Luffy's confidence and naivete, I can honestly see him actually freeing this monster. You know Goku would, just for the fun of the challenge. Honestly, the whole Luffy going alone thing could have been a way for Oda to allow Luffy to do it, because obviously anyone else would be screaming for him not to do it, well, except maybe Zoro. We then cut to the castle bridge. Nami and the others actually see Road running after them, while Gerd and Goldberg are running after Road. If 4Kids ever got this far with the One Piece anime, I'd expect an end of the road pun when they defeated this guy. Zoro, being the badass he is, wants to cut down the chasers, but Usopp wisely tells him that they may be friends with Dory and Bragi, so they just decide to run to the Elbaph village up above, where Loki's key must be. Nami thinks it'll be over if they catch up to them, but hard to take that too seriously, knowing Zoro could definitely wreck them. We then jump back to the underworld, but not where you think. We get into a different area. It seems Loki is not the only one not afraid of the underworld. since Hajrudin, the new giant warrior pirates captain and other son of King Harold, is seen with Stansen, striking down a huge moose. Hajrudin laughs and says, "We've got the moose. You can't find this creature in the forests above. Its meat is superb. I can already see the big smile the Straw Hats are gonna have on their faces." And honestly, that's very nice of him. Ignoring the whole going to the underworld to hunt deadly giant animals thing, it's just so nice of him to be thinking about how to make the Straw Hats happy. I'm still hoping he'll be crowned the new king by the end of this arc. Even for them though, this animal is heavy and Stansen wonders how will they carry it. While Hajrudin is like, "Man up, bro." He says, "Don't embarrass ourselves. This meat is for those who saved our lives." Love the respect and honor this guy has. You could say these are definitely some good royal qualities. Oda even gives us a recap panel of Dressrosa and Hajrudin's new giant warrior pirates. After that, the two do succeed in carrying the moose and leave. As if that wasn't enough for a chapter, we get more, and I gotta warn you, there's some heartbreaking stuff coming up. We cut to the Elbaph ship, which is sailing next to a giant sea creature. In direct contrast to how scary that is, Brooke is just cutting Robin's hair at her request. Brooke says, "How is it, Robin-san? This is my first time doing a haircut for a lady. I was very nervous. My heart was racing even though I don't have one." Yo, skull joke. Brooke is hands down one of the funniest characters, and lines like this prove exactly why. Lilith made me laugh too with her response, which was, "You don't have a heart? That's not scientific at all." And that's a good point. It's funny how they blend science and completely not science together in One Piece. Bonnie meanwhile responds as a girl should, saying, "So cute, Robin, with a heart." And yes, we just get everyone talking about a haircut here, with even Frankie remarking that it brings back memories since it's presumably her old hairstyle. Even Jinbei, who shouldn't know much about female human hairstyles, one would think, says it suits you well, great job, Brooke. With all this teasing out of the way, Oda finally shows us a close-up of Robin now, and we see that Brooke cut her bangs so that she has her pre-time skip hairstyle again. Yes, Oda is changing Robin's hairstyle without time skips. Will his masterful subverting of the shonen genre never cease? But there is a really good reason for the haircut, as we'll see soon. Robin thanks Brooke and says it's perfect. Brooke is glad to hear it, and it's Broggy who finally says, "Oh, I see. That was the hair you had when you were with Saul, right? I bet he'll be overjoyed too," says Dory. So this sweet moment is setting up for that heartfelt reunion with Robin and Saul. Let's just pretend everything will be okay, and we won't get a massive twist at the end of this chapter that ruins everything. Even Frankie is feeling it, saying, "I can't. This reunion is going to make me tear up." Oimo comments that it's also the hairstyle they knew. The Elbaph ship finally reaches Elbaph Island, and all the people in the ship can now see this colossal island. The giants say the fog has cleared. There's our island, let's land. And the Straw Hat crew says it's huge. So that's the island of the giants. And of course, the giants say they'll do another toast once they land. I love people who toast this much. Cheers. We then get a shocking twist, as I've mentioned, and one that's almost too heartbreaking. We cut to somewhere inside Elbaph and someone is shouting very nervously. The mysterious person says, "Help! Saul Sensei has fallen down. He's not moving at all." So after preparing us for a heartwarming reunion, it gets ripped from us in such a tragic way when it was so close. Although to be fair, maybe he just fainted and we'll be okay, and we will get that reunion eventually. But man, what a cliffhanger, especially since they were finally so close to that reunion and Oda was hyping it up in such a heartwarming way. But that's it for this one. Thanks again to Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade. Download the hype game now, link in the description. If you did enjoy this one, you won't want to miss this video about Shanks' dad and the new strongest Gorosei, link on screen right now. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.